Ladies and gentlemen, listen carefully, your life of wealth begins now. As you hear these sounds, imagine a golden river of abundance flowing toward you. With every breath, you are drawing prosperity closer. You are no longer chasing wealth. Wealth is chasing you. In this sacred moment, allow the music to unlock the doors of financial freedom and step boldly into the life of abundance that already belongs to you. Divine supply is unlimited. When we look at the world through mortal eyes, we may see lack, shortage, and limitation. But when we look through the eyes of spirit, we see that all things are already provided in infinite measure. The air we breathe is endless, the stars are countless, and the grains of sand on the shore cannot be numbered. This same boundless law of abundance governs money, opportunities, and every good thing that enriches life. The mind of man may say, "There is not enough," but the mind of God whispers, "All that I have is yours, and it is without end." Too often people bind themselves with the chains of false belief, imagining that supply is small, that wealth belongs only to the few, or that prosperity is hard to obtain. Yet these are shadows without substance, illusions born from fear and separation. In truth, supply does not come from man, employer, or circumstance. These are but channels through which the great river of divine abundance flows. If one channel closes, another instantly opens, for the source of all riches is spirit, and spirit cannot be exhausted. The fountain of prosperity never runs dry, because God is its wellspring. When one accepts this truth, a shift takes place in the inner life. No longer do we clutch in fear or hoard in anxiety. We rest in the knowing that provision is eternal and cannot be taken away. The same law that keeps the sun shining and the tide returning keeps our good returning. Supply is not a trickle, but a mighty flood, ready to pour forth wherever it is invited. Our task is not to force prosperity, but to align with it, to make ourselves open vessels through which divine substance may flow. Many live as if prosperity were a limited pie, believing that if one gains, another must lose. But in the infinite, every man's gain is the gain of all. Increase for one does not mean decrease for another, for the source is measureless. A flower blooming in one garden does not steal beauty from the next, it multiplies the fragrance of life. So it is with riches. The wealth of one soul expands the wealth of the whole, for abundance is contagious, and prosperity radiates outward like sunlight, blessing all it touches. To recognize the unlimited nature of supply is to break the spell of competition, envy, and fear. No one can take what is mine by divine right, nor can I take what belongs to another. Each individual has a storehouse in the infinite, and that storehouse is full. When we affirm, "The supply of spirit is unlimited and flows to me now," we are not begging, but claiming. We are tuning ourselves to the vibration of plenty, just as a radio receives the station to which it is tuned. Spirit broadcasts abundance at all times. Our role is to align with the frequency of faith and gratitude. Consider the birds of the air. They do not gather into barns, nor do they toil with anxious thought, yet they are fed daily by the hand of spirit. The lilies of the field do not labor, yet they are clothed in splendor greater than kings. These are not idle stories, but living lessons. If God so provides for the smallest sparrow, how much more will He provide for those who recognize their place as children of the infinite? To doubt supply is to doubt the very essence of God, who is eternal givingness. When one truly knows that supply is unlimited, fear of the future dissolves. We cease asking, "Will there be enough for tomorrow?" For tomorrow is already provided for. Each day contains its own supply, delivered fresh and abundant, like manna from heaven. To hoard in fear is to show mistrust in divine law, but to release and receive with confidence is to live in harmony with it. The open hand is always filled, the clenched fist holds nothing. Words are the keys that unlock this invisible treasury. To declare lack is to bind ourselves to it. To affirm abundance is to call it forth. When we speak, Divine supply is unlimited and manifests through me now. Unseen forces begin to arrange themselves in perfect order, and channels of prosperity appear. A new opportunity may open, a forgotten debt may be repaid, or unexpected money may arrive. These are not accidents, they are the visible results of an invisible truth. The universe is lavish in its gifts. Look at the endless variety of fruit, the overflowing harvests of the earth, the countless forms of beauty and art. Spirit wastes nothing, yet withholds nothing. All that is needed is already created, waiting for the consciousness that claims it. The one who dares to believe in the boundlessness of supply becomes a magnet to wealth, for belief itself is the law of attraction in action. What we hold in mind with faith is what materializes in life. To meditate upon the unlimited nature of supply is to break free from the narrow prison of human thought. We cease to say, "I cannot afford," and instead declare, "The riches of spirit are mine now." We cease to ask, "Where will it come from?" and instead affirm, "It comes in perfect ways, through perfect channels under grace." The invisible law is working constantly, and when we align with it, blessings flow with ease, without strain or struggle. Prosperity is a birthright. It is not something to be earned with toil, nor is it a prize reserved for a chosen few. It belongs to every soul by divine inheritance, as surely as sunlight belongs to every flower and the ocean belongs to every wave. The Creator of the universe withholds nothing from His children, just as the child of a king has access to the treasures of the kingdom. So too does each of us have access to the endless riches of spirit. It is not arrogance to claim prosperity, it is recognition of our true identity as heirs of the infinite. So many walk in poverty, not because riches are denied them, but because they have denied themselves. They have believed in separation, in unworthiness, in the false law of struggle. They have accepted the lie that money is evil or that spiritual people must live in lack. But lack is not holiness, and poverty is not purity. Spirit created wealth as easily as it created beauty and health. To reject abundance is to reject part of the divine expression. Prosperity is not selfish, it is the natural outpouring of a God who is lavish beyond measure. When a man or woman declares, "I am worthy of wealth, for prosperity is my birthright," a door opens in consciousness. That affirmation cancels centuries of false belief and breaks ancestral chains of limitation. We inherit not the bondage of our forefathers, but the blessing of our Father, Mother God. The same Spirit that clothed the lilies and fed the multitudes has already provided for us. Our inheritance is not meager or partial, it is full and overflowing, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. The law of supply cannot be exhausted, and it has already decreed prosperity to each soul that dares to accept it. Think of a child born into a great estate. Even if he grows up in ignorance, wandering in rags, the estate is still his. The title is written in his name, waiting for the moment he awakens and claims it. So it is with prosperity. Many live as beggars when they are princes, because they have forgotten their inheritance. The moment they remember, the moment they stand tall and affirm their divine right, life shifts. The invisible responds to the spoken word, and opportunities, wealth, and blessings begin to align with them. Prosperity as a birthright also means it is effortless when accepted. The apple tree does not strain to bear fruit, it simply abides in its nature. The river does not struggle to flow, it simply follows its course. In the same way, abundance flows naturally when we rest in our true identity. Struggle is a sign we are working against law, while ease is proof we are in harmony with it. To affirm prosperity is to align with the rhythm of the universe, and in that alignment money, ideas, and resources come without friction. Every time we deny ourselves abundance, we deny the divine image within us. Every time we shrink in fear and say, "I am not worthy, I cannot afford, I must live small," we turn our backs on the inheritance Spirit has written into our very being. But when we boldly declare, "I claim prosperity as my birthright, I am worthy to live richly, fully, and beautifully," we honor the giver by receiving the gift. Spirit does not desire that its children live in want. Spirit desires that they flourish, for flourishing reveals the abundance of the Creator. It is also important to know that prosperity as a birthright is not only for oneself, but for the blessing of others. The wealthy soul is not greedy, for greed comes from fear of lack. The truly prosperous soul gives freely, for he knows that his supply can never end. In receiving our inheritance, we become channels for others to receive theirs. Wealth circulates, multiplying as it flows. To hold it back in fear is to choke its life, but to share it in faith is to expand it endlessly. Our birthright is not just money in the bank, but peace of mind, freedom from debt, joy in giving, and security in living. Prosperity does not mean every man will live the same life or own the same possessions. It means each soul will have what is theirs by right, what suits their destiny, their calling, their joy. The painter may not inherit gold, but he inherits the prosperity of inspiration, which leads to the sales of his art. The healer may not inherit jewels, but she inherits the prosperity of radiant health and clients who bless her work. Each has a share in the infinite storehouse, and that share is perfectly tailored to their path. Prosperity as a birthright is not uniform, but it is universal. To awaken to this truth is to walk in freedom. No longer do we envy another's success, for we know our own inheritance is waiting. No longer do we feel guilty for receiving, for we know to receive is to honor God. No longer do we fear loss, for what is given by divine law cannot be taken away. Birthright cannot be stolen, it can only be ignored, and once remembered it returns with multiplied power. So we walk with a new consciousness not as beggars, but as heirs. We speak with authority not pleading for supply, but affirming it. We give with joy not fearing decrease, but expecting increase. The very earth responds to this consciousness, for the universe recognizes its rightful heir and rushes to deliver the portion already prepared. Every blessing, every opportunity, every financial miracle is drawn to the one who dares to claim prosperity is my birthright, and I live it now. Words have creative power. Each word spoken is a seed planted in the fertile soil of the universe, and that seed must bear fruit after its kind. When we declare lack, we harvest lack. When we declare abundance, we reap abundance. The tongue is a rudder that steers the ship of life, and many drift into storms simply because their words have charted the course. Spirit responds not to idle complaint, but to the word of authority spoken in faith. That is why it is said that by our words we are justified, and by our words we are condemned. The power of the spoken word is a law as exact as the law of gravity. Just as the apple falls to the ground without fail, so too do our words fall into manifestation. The universe listens attentively to every declaration, every affirmation, every denial. To say, I am always in debt, is to command more debt. To say, I can never get ahead, is to order failure from the storehouse of the infinite. The law does not ask whether we speak in jest or in sorrow. It simply fulfills the vibration of our words. For this reason, the careless phrase, the hopeless sigh, the repeated complaint, these are not harmless, but powerful forces shaping our lives. Yet how few realize that their lips are brushes painting the canvas of their destiny. They pray for prosperity, yet speak of poverty. They ask for blessing, yet affirm misfortune. Their words cancel their prayers, for the law of creation cannot be divided. The lips must agree with the heart, and the heart must agree with the truth. When the spoken word aligns with the divine word, miracles happen swiftly. One affirmation of truth, spoken with conviction, can dissolve years of limitation. Consider the story of the woman who continually declared, I never have enough money. Every bill that came in seemed heavier, every expense more pressing, until her life became a cycle of struggle. But when she was taught to reverse her words, to speak instead, I am supplied with abundance under grace in perfect ways, the tide turned, unexpected income appeared, debts were paid, and she marveled at the swiftness of change. Her circumstances did not shift until her words shifted, for her words had been the gatekeepers of her experience. The spoken word is charged with the power of belief. A parrot may repeat affirmations endlessly without effect, for there is no conviction in its cry. But when man speaks with the fire of faith, heaven and earth move to obey. It is not the length of the affirmation, but the certainty behind it, that brings results. A single phrase, "God is my instant supply," spoken in unwavering faith, can draw money, opportunity, and blessing from unseen sources. The word becomes flesh, the invisible becomes visible. There is also danger in idle speech, for words once spoken cannot be recalled. They go forth and set in motion unseen forces. Many speak fear without realizing they are planting seeds of their own misfortune. A parent may say to a child, "We can't afford that," and in so doing, plant the root of limitation in the young mind. Years later, the child lives in financial bondage, repeating the same phrase without knowing its origin. Thus, the careless word becomes a generational chain. But the good news is that the chain can be broken, for the truth spoken today dissolves the false word of yesterday. A new declaration overrides the old, and the law responds to the higher vibration. The word is also a sword, able to cut away fear, doubt, and negativity. When faced with appearances of lack, the prosperous soul does not repeat the lie, but affirms the truth. When the purse seems empty, declare, "My supply is abundant and ever present." When opportunity seems hidden, declare, "New doors open for me now under grace." These words, spoken against appearances, break the spell of illusion and align the mind with the unseen abundance. The spoken word pierces the veil and calls forth the riches already stored in the invisible. To use words with power is to guard the lips as a sacred instrument. Every phrase must be weighed, every declaration chosen with care. Just as the gardener removes weeds to protect the harvest, so too must we remove words of doubt to protect our prosperity. It is not enough to speak positively once. The habit must be formed until the tongue becomes an instrument of truth alone. As music shapes the air into harmony, so do words shape the unseen into prosperity. When we affirm abundance, we are not merely hoping. It is not wishful thinking or vain repetition. We are commanding law, and law obeys. The word is creative because it is clothed in the authority of spirit. The universe was spoken into being by the divine word, and man, made in the image of God, carries that same creative power. To misuse it is to create bondage, to use it rightly is to create freedom. The lips are mighty instruments, they can curse or they can bless. Therefore, it is wise to dwell continually in words of faith, gratitude, and prosperity. Let the morning begin with affirmation. "This is the day of my financial blessing." Let the evening close with thanksgiving. "I give thanks for the abundance that flows to me." Let no idle or fearful word slip past the gate, for each syllable is a seed, and the harvest is certain. The life you live tomorrow is growing from the words you speak today. Speak wealth, and wealth comes. Speak joy, and joy arrives. Speak blessing, and blessing multiplies. Money flows under grace. True prosperity is never forced, never grasped, never taken by struggle or manipulation. It comes in right ways, at the right time, through channels prepared by divine wisdom. Many chase after money with anxious toil, believing they must seize it before another does. Yet that which is gained by fear must be maintained by fear, and it slips away like sand through the fingers. But when money flows under grace, it comes easily, naturally, as water finds its way down the mountainside. Grace is the law of effortless good, and when we align with it, wealth arrives without sorrow. There is a difference between money that is forced and money that is received under grace. Forced money often carries burden with it, sleepless nights, dishonest dealings, or loss in some other area of life. But money under grace uplifts, blesses, and increases. It never brings harm, for it is clothed in divine harmony. One may labor for years in struggle and gain little, while another speaks the word of truth and sees doors open with astonishing ease. It is not the size of the effort, but the presence of grace that determines the flow. To live under grace is to trust that Spirit knows the perfect channel and the perfect time for our supply. The human mind is often limited, thinking, my prosperity can only come through this job, this person, this opportunity. Yet grace surprises us with new avenues, unseen connections, unexpected gifts. A closed door is never the end, but only a redirection, for the law of grace has already prepared another opening. When one learns to rest in this truth, anxiety disappears. Money does not come by force of will but by surrender to divine order. Many times, people pray for abundance yet cling to fear, striving to make things happen in their own limited ways. But faith releases the need to control and declares, my good comes to me now under grace, in perfect ways. These words unlock the flow, for they affirm that prosperity need not come through effort that exhausts the soul, but through channels that bring joy. Work itself becomes lighter when it is infused with grace, for money earned in peace carries with it peace. Money gained in fear carries with it fear. The vibration of its coming colors the vibration of its staying. There is also protection in grace. Some may pursue wealth in ventures that appear prosperous but are doomed to loss. Others may chase opportunities that glitter but are traps in disguise. Grace shields us from wrong riches, guiding us away from harm and toward true increase. What appears as delay may be protection, what appears as loss may be preservation. When one trusts in grace, disappointment turns to gratitude, for what was denied would have brought sorrow, and what is given brings blessing. Money that flows under grace always arrives with right timing. Too early would be harmful, too late would be discouraging, but under grace it comes in the very moment of need. Bills are met, obligations cleared, opportunities funded, all in exact measure and perfect season. The human mind may cry, it is too late, I am undone, but the law of grace never fails. Even at the last moment, supply appears, and fear is dissolved in wonder. Many can testify that just when all seemed lost, unexpected money arrived, as if heaven itself had intervened. This is not chance, it is grace in operation. It is also important to know that under grace, money flows without envy or comparison. Another's success does not hinder mine, nor does my prosperity diminish theirs. Each soul has its own channel, its own inheritance, its own portion of the infinite storehouse. To covet what belongs to another is to block our own supply. But to bless another's increase is to hasten our own. Grace flows in harmony, never in rivalry, for the abundance of spirit is too vast to be contained in competition. When we affirm, money comes to me under grace in perfect ways, we are inviting a higher law to operate in our affairs. We are rejecting the law of struggle, fear, and chance, and embracing the law of harmony, ease, and certainty. Our words set the vibration, and unseen forces arrange circumstances in ways we could never have planned. A forgotten debt may be repaid, a gift may appear, a promotion may open, a stranger may bless us. The means do not matter, for the channel is always right when it flows under grace. To force money is to push against the river, but to allow money under grace is to float with the current. Life becomes lighter, freer, filled with peace and confidence. We stop asking, how will it come? And instead affirm, it comes under grace. We cease worrying about when, for the timing is perfect. We stop fearing about where, for the channel is already prepared. All that is required is faith, thanksgiving, and the spoken word of truth. Money flows not by anxious pursuit but by divine order. Thus, money under grace blesses the giver, the receiver, and all it touches. It uplifts families, supports dreams, clears debts, and expands good in the world. It never arrives at the expense of another, for it is guided by the law of love. It is money without sorrow, increase without burden, wealth without harm. And it flows continually, for grace is endless, and the supply of spirit is without end. Faith cancels fear. These two cannot dwell together, for one is light and the other is shadow. Fear binds, chokes, and paralyzes. Faith releases, opens, and multiplies. The heart filled with fear closes the very doors through which prosperity might enter, while the heart filled with faith swings those doors wide to receive. Fear says, there is not enough. Faith declares, all that I need is already supplied. Fear looks at appearances and trembles. Faith looks beyond appearances and sees the invisible abundance. To choose faith is to cancel fear, and in canceling fear we cancel lack. Most men live under the tyranny of fear without naming it. Fear of loss, fear of debt, fear of failure, fear of poverty. These silent tyrants rule their days and nights. They check their purses with trembling, they dread tomorrow with anxiety, and they shrink from opportunities, saying, "What if I fail?" Yet what they fear, they attract, for fear is a magnet as powerful as faith. The very thing a man dreads most often comes upon him, not because it was written in his destiny, but because he gave it life with his fearful expectation. Faith, however, reverses the current. It lifts the soul above the pull of negative attraction and aligns it with divine supply. Faith does not ask, "How will this be possible?" It simply knows that all things are possible with God. The man of faith is not blind to appearances. He sees the empty purse, the unpaid bills, the closed doors, but he refuses to be governed by them. He speaks the higher word. Though appearances show lack, the truth is abundance. Though bills come, supply meets them. Though doors seem shut, another door opens. Faith sees beyond the temporary shadow and affirms the eternal light. There was once a man who lived in constant dread of losing his position. Every day he whispered to himself, "What if I am dismissed? What if I have no income? What if I cannot survive?" At last, his fears bore fruit. He lost the position he so dreaded. Yet in that very loss, he was forced to seek new employment, and soon found a position far better than the one before. If he had only lived in faith, he could have spared himself years of anxiety and perhaps hastened his increase. Fear prolonged his suffering, while faith would have shortened it. Faith cancels fear because faith calls upon divine law, while fear binds one to the law of limitation. The fearful man looks at his bank account and declares lack. The faithful man looks at the same account and declares, "This is but a shadow. My true supply is infinite." The fearful man hoards and clutches, trying to hold what little he has, but in clutching, he blocks the flow. The faithful man gives freely, knowing that giving opens channels for receiving. Fear shrinks his world, faith expands it. Fear builds walls, faith builds bridges. Even a small spark of faith is enough to banish a great darkness of fear. One affirmation spoken in confidence, "God is my instant and constant supply," can dissolve a night of worry. Faith acts like light entering a darkened room. The moment the switch is turned, the darkness flees, for darkness has no power of its own, it is merely the absence of light. In the same way, fear has no power of its own, it is merely the absence of faith. Bring in faith, and fear disappears instantly. Faith also cancels fear by changing vibration. Every soul radiates a current. Fear vibrates at one frequency, drawing scarcity and difficulty. Faith vibrates at another, drawing prosperity and ease. The man who radiates fear attracts those who confirm his dread. The man who radiates faith attracts helpers, opportunities, and resources. It is not accident but law. The unseen responds to the current of belief, and faith is the current that aligns with divine supply. Faith does not always reveal the full path, but it assures each step. It whispers, "Take this step, and the next will appear." Fear demands to see the whole journey before beginning, and thus it never begins. But prosperity unfolds as a walk of faith, one obedient step at a time, one obedient affirmation at a time. The man of faith speaks abundance today, gives thanks today, acts in confidence today, and tomorrow opens before him like a rising dawn. Fear sits in darkness waiting for proof. Faith moves in light, creating proof. It is also true that fear weakens the body, while faith strengthens it. The anxious heart wears itself out with worry, and even health is diminished by fear. But the faithful heart is light, joyful, expectant, and energy flows freely. A soul filled with faith attracts not only wealth but vitality, for the two are linked. Prosperity without peace is hollow, but prosperity with faith is rich in every sense. Thus, to walk in faith is to walk in wholeness, and wholeness is the true prosperity. So whenever fear arises, one must not entertain it, but immediately cancel it with a word of truth. If fear whispers, "There will not be enough," answer instantly, "My supply is infinite." If fear cries, "You are alone," reply, "I am never alone, for Spirit goes before me." If fear paints pictures of disaster, replace them with pictures of abundance, safety, and joy. The mind is a canvas, paint it with faith, and the colors of prosperity will appear. Faith cancels fear because fear is powerless before truth. Fear is a shadow, faith is substance. Fear is illusion, faith is reality. Fear looks to man, faith looks to God. And when faith is chosen, fear dissolves, and prosperity flows like a river, steady, strong, and unending. Giving opens the flow. Prosperity is like a river. When it is dammed, it grows stagnant, but when it is allowed to move, it becomes fresh and abundant. Many block their own supply by holding tightly to what they have, fearing there may not be more. But this very clinging stops the circulation of abundance. Money, like blood, must flow to give life. It was never meant to be hoarded in fear, but to be given, received, and multiplied. When we give freely, we prove our faith in unlimited supply, and the universe answers by sending us even greater increase. The miser who clutches his coins lives in constant dread of loss. He counts and recounts, guards and hides, yet never feels secure. His wealth shrinks in his very hands, for fear strangles the current. But the giver lives in joy and trust. She blesses what she has and releases it with gratitude, knowing that the same Spirit which brought her this supply will bring her more. She is like the open hand that can be filled again and again, while the closed fist remains empty. Giving does not mean reckless waste, but a deliberate act of faith. Each gift is a declaration: I trust the infinite. I know that my supply cannot end. I give because I am rich in spirit, and in giving I make room for more. When one gives with this consciousness, the return is inevitable, multiplied and pressed down, flowing back through channels unexpected. No man can outgive the universe, for the universe always responds with increase. There was once a woman who feared she could not pay her rent. She clutched every coin, shrinking from even the smallest act of generosity. A friend reminded her that fear blocks supply and suggested she give something, however small, to prove her faith. With trembling, she gave a coin to one in need, blessing it as she released it. Within days, unexpected money arrived, more than enough to cover her rent. She had learned the secret: when you open the flow through giving, you open the way for receiving. Giving also breaks the chains of selfishness. Many desire wealth only to hold it, to build walls of possession around themselves. But such wealth is heavy and joyless. True prosperity is not measured by what one clutches, but by what one circulates. The man who gives freely walks in freedom, for he knows his supply cannot end. His generosity blesses others, and in blessing others, he blesses himself. His wealth becomes a channel of good, a river that waters dry lands, bringing life wherever it goes. It is not always money that is given. A word of encouragement, a gift of time, an act of service. These too are forms of giving, and they too open the flow. To withhold kindness is as much a block as withholding money. The universe is circulation, and every act of giving, whether material, emotional, or spiritual, keeps that circulation alive. What is given returns in kind, often greater than before, for the law of increase is always at work. Gratitude is itself a form of giving. When we give thanks for what we have, we magnify it. To say, "I am thankful for this provision," is to double it in consciousness, and consciousness attracts its likeness. The grateful heart is always full, while the ungrateful heart is always empty, no matter how much it holds. Gratitude gives energy back to the universe, and the universe responds with more to be grateful for. Thus, thanksgiving is the highest form of giving, and it keeps the channels of prosperity ever open. There are those who say, "I cannot give, for I have too little," but withholding because of smallness only ensures continued smallness. To give even a little, in faith, opens the door to more. The widow's mite, given with trust, drew the blessing of heaven, for it was not the amount, but the spirit of giving that mattered. To say, "When I have more, then I will give," is to wait forever. But to give now, from what is already at hand, is to unlock the law of circulation. The smallest seed planted in faith can grow into a great tree of abundance. There is also a joy in giving that money alone cannot measure. The smile of the one who receives, the light that fills a troubled heart, the relief of a burden lifted, these are treasures that no coin can equal. The giver partakes in divine nature, for spirit itself is eternal givingness. The sun does not hold back its light, the rain does not withhold its water, the earth does not clutch its harvest. All of nature gives, and in giving, it renews itself. So man, made in the image of spirit, fulfills his destiny when he gives, for in that moment he mirrors the Creator. Thus giving proves prosperity. It declares, I have enough to share. I live in abundance, not in lack. My supply is unending, therefore I can release it without fear. And because law always responds to consciousness, the one who gives finds his storehouse filled again and again. Giving creates space, and the universe rushes to fill it. Holding creates stagnation, and stagnation breeds lack. To live richly is to live generously, and to live generously is to open the flow. Imagination is the workshop of creation. Whatever man holds steadily before his inner eye will, in due season, take form in his outer world. The mind paints pictures, and life, like a faithful servant, brings those pictures into being. To visualize prosperity is to plant the seed of wealth in the garden of the soul, and what is planted must, by divine law, grow. Many keep their minds filled with images of lack, failure, and struggle, and then wonder why such experiences repeat in their lives. They have misused the law of imagination, for the law is impartial. It brings forth what is sound, whether in faith or in fear. The secret is to see not what is but what can be. To the senses, there may be lack, debts, or closed doors, but the imagination must behold abundance, supply, and open ways. As one persistently holds these pictures of prosperity, the subconscious is impressed, and the subconscious, in turn, moves the outer world to reflect the image impressed upon it. What man imagines with faith becomes as real as what he touches with his hands. To see with the eyes of spirit is to call forth that which is unseen into the seen. There was once a man who lived in poverty, but every night before sleep, he imagined himself in a beautiful home, with every room furnished richly and every detail perfect. He saw himself walking through those rooms, feeling the joy of ownership. For weeks, he lived in this vision in the silence of his mind. One day, through unexpected channels, he received an inheritance that allowed him to purchase a home almost identical to the one he had imagined. His vision had gone before him, preparing the way. Imagination had created the mold, and life had poured itself into that mold. Visualization must be clear and detailed. To simply say, I desire wealth, is vague and without form. But to picture oneself living in comfort, blessing others freely, seeing bills paid with ease, walking in peace and joy, this is to give form to the desire. The mind works with images, and images carry vibration. When the image of prosperity is held with unwavering faith, it radiates into the unseen, drawing its likeness back through channels, both expected and unexpected. The law of attraction is nothing but the law of visualization in action. For what one sees inwardly, one attracts outwardly. Doubt scatters the vision. To visualize abundance, and then cancel it with thoughts of fear is like planting seeds, and then digging them up each day to see if they are growing. Nothing can take root in such soil. The one who truly understands holds the vision steady, regardless of appearances. He does not waver when bills arrive or when outer conditions seem tight. He says, these appearances are temporary. My true supply is already here. I see it, I believe it, I give thanks for it. And in that unwavering vision, the unseen becomes seen. Children understand this law better than most adults. A child imagines himself a king, a hero, or a traveler, and in his mind he becomes it completely. His world bends to his imagination, and for him, it is real. Adults lose this gift, replacing it with worry and reasoning. But spirit does not ask for reasoning. It asks for faith and imagination. To return to the childlike ability to see and believe is to return to the creative power that shapes worlds. Except ye become as little children, I shall not enter the kingdom. The kingdom is the realm of imagination, and only the childlike enter freely. To visualize prosperity, one must also feel it. It is not enough to see images without emotion. Feeling is the magnet that gives power to the vision. To imagine wealth while feeling fear of poverty is to divide the current. But to imagine wealth and feel the joy of freedom, the security of abundance, the relief of debts paid, that emotion fuses with the image, giving it life. The more vividly one feels the desired state, the more quickly it manifests. Gratitude strengthens visualization. To give thanks in advance is to claim possession of the unseen. When one says, I am so grateful for my increasing wealth, for the freedom and comfort I now enjoy, while picturing the desired life, it is as if the universe has already delivered it. Gratitude anchors the vision in faith, and faith makes it real. The thankful heart never waits, but claims and rejoices, and in rejoicing draws the unseen into form. Visualization is not daydreaming without power, it is creation with purpose. It is forming the mold into which spirit pours substance. Every great achievement began first as a vision. The painter saw the picture before the brush touched the canvas. The architect saw the building before one stone was laid. The inventor saw the finished device before a single part was made. So must man see his prosperity before it appears. To say, I will believe it when I see it, is to wait forever. To say, I see it now, therefore I will surely have it, is to command the law into action. The invisible always precedes the visible. Imagination is the bridge between the two. When man dares to visualize prosperity as his divine right, refusing to be moved by fear or appearances, the invisible substance rushes to shape itself into his desire. He becomes the master craftsman of his destiny, painting with the brush of imagination and coloring his life with the hues of faith. What he holds steadily in his mind, he will surely hold one day in his hand. Faith is the light that banishes every shadow of fear. It is the unwavering assurance that what is divinely yours can never be taken from you, and what belongs to you by right of consciousness must find you, no matter how dark the way may seem. Fear and doubt are but illusions, shadows cast by the limited mind. Faith is the substance, the anchor, the certainty that the unseen supply is already prepared. Where fear hesitates, faith commands. Where doubt falters, faith declares the end is sure and already complete. When man dwells in fear, he aligns himself with lack. His thoughts whisper, what if I fail? What if I am left without? What if the doors close against me? And life, obedient servant of the mind, mirrors those very doubts. But when man rises in faith and proclaims, my supply is secure, my prosperity is certain, my blessings overflow, he aligns himself with abundance, and the universe bends to confirm his word. As it is spoken in faith, so it is established. Faith is not blind. It sees what the eye cannot. It sees the finished picture, even when the canvas of life looks empty. Faith is the inner knowing that the harvest exists, even when the field looks bare. Doubt sees the empty soil and says, there is nothing here. Faith sees the invisible seed and declares, my abundance is already planted, and it must surely grow. The one who believes in the promise of God knows that delay is not denial, and that apparent lack is but a test of steadfastness. Faith is patient because it knows the law cannot fail. There was once a woman who faced great financial lack. Bills surrounded her, opportunities seemed closed, and fear pressed upon her heart. But instead of bowing to fear, she spoke words of faith daily. God is my unfailing supply. The money I need is already on its way. Nothing can be withheld from me. She praised instead of worrying, gave thanks instead of fretting. In a short time, unexpected channels opened. A gift from a relative, an opportunity she had not considered, and all her needs were met. Fear could have bound her, but faith unlocked the floodgates. Fear is faith misplaced. It is faith in evil rather than good, in lack rather than supply, in failure rather than success. Whatever man fears, he attracts, for the law does not question. It simply brings forth the image impressed upon it. To fear poverty is to draw it nearer. To fear failure is to hasten it. But to shift the same energy into faith is to reverse the current, turning shadows into substance. Man chooses daily, will he feed fear or faith? What he nourishes grows. The scriptures declare, according to your faith be it unto you. Not according to your fear, not according to your doubt, but according to the measure of your belief. A mustard seed of faith, held firmly, is enough to move mountains. It is not the size of faith that matters, but its purity, its refusal to be shaken. To believe in abundance one moment and in lack the next is to divide the current. But to hold fast, unwavering, is to command heaven and earth to align with your word. Faith speaks the language of certainty. It does not say, I hope my blessing will come. It says, it is mine now, unseen but sure. It does not wait for appearances to give thanks. It gives thanks in advance, knowing appearances must bow to the inner conviction. Doubt delays because it hesitates. Faith accelerates because it claims. The one who knows their good is already complete walks with assurance, as though prosperity were already visible and in due season. The outer must match the inner. Fear thrives in silence, whispering lies in the quiet corners of the mind. But faith thrives when spoken aloud. Words of truth scatter fear like light scatters darkness. To declare daily, I walk in divine abundance. My path is clear. I am safe, supplied, and secure, is to build a wall of faith around the mind that no fear can penetrate. Fear cannot stand where truth is spoken with conviction. Faith-filled words are weapons, sharper than any doubt, cutting through the cords of limitation. The one who lives in faith does not ask, will it come? He knows it has already come, and he is merely walking toward its manifestation. He does not tremble at delay or panic at closed doors. He says, if this door is shut, a greater one is opening. If this path ends, a better way is prepared. Faith rests in assurance, for it knows the divine order cannot fail. Fear strives, doubts, and wrestles, but faith rests, knowing the law of good is eternal. Every man and woman is given the choice to live in fear or in faith. To live in fear is to dwell in a shadow that drains the spirit. To live in faith is to dwell in the light of certainty, where prosperity flows as naturally as the tide. The one who chooses faith daily, in word, thought, and vision, builds a fortress of abundance around his life. Though fear may knock, it finds no dwelling. Though doubt may whisper, it finds no ear. Faith is the voice that commands, peace, be still, and the storm of lack obeys. Gratitude is the golden key that unlocks the treasury of heaven. It is the secret power that multiplies what seems small and draws more of what is good into one's life. To be grateful is to live in harmony with divine supply, for gratitude declares that the blessing is already here, and what is acknowledged with joy expands. The ungrateful heart closes itself to abundance, but the grateful heart opens wide the doors to prosperity. Gratitude is not merely a polite word, it is a vibration, a force, a law. What you bless blesses you. What you thank multiplies in your hand. Many live waiting to see their good before they give thanks, but the wise give thanks first, knowing the unseen is greater than the seen. To say, I am grateful for the money that is on its way, for the opportunities already prepared for me, for the doors already opening, is to align oneself with divine law. The universe answers a grateful heart as surely as an echo answers a sound. Gratitude is not delayed until manifestation. It is the very cause of manifestation. Consider the one who looks at their table and sees only a little bread. If they complain, saying, this is not enough, the bread diminishes, for ingratitude is a magnet for lack. But if they give thanks, saying, I bless this food, I am grateful for this nourishment, more is always coming. The little becomes much, for gratitude multiplies what it touches. It is the same with money. The person who looks at a small sum and despises it, saying, this is too little, keeps himself bound to lack. But the one who blesses every coin, saying, I give thanks for this supply, and I know it grows, calls forth more money into his experience. There is a story of a woman who practiced daily gratitude, even when she had little. She thanked God for her home, though it was small. She thanked God for her work, though it paid little. She thanked God for her health, her friends, her very breath. Day by day, her gratitude grew greater than her need, and soon her circumstances began to change. She was offered better work, her income increased, and opportunities flowed easily to her. She had unlocked wealth not by striving but by giving thanks. Gratitude lifted her from the consciousness of lack into the consciousness of plenty, and life mirrored that shift. The one who withholds gratitude until wealth appears is like a farmer who withholds water until the crops grow. The harvest requires nourishment, and gratitude is the water that nourishes the seed of prosperity. To say, "I will be grateful when I have more," is to shut the door. To say, "I am grateful now, even as more is unfolding," is to fling the door wide open. Gratitude works in advance, clearing the way for supply to enter. Gratitude transforms the mind from grasping to receiving. The grasping mind says, "I lack, I need, I must have." The grateful mind says, "I already have, I already receive, my blessings are overflowing." And because consciousness creates reality, the grateful mind calls forth overflowing supply. The law is exact: what you focus on increases. If you focus on lack, lack multiplies. If you focus on abundance, abundance multiplies. Gratitude fixes the gaze on abundance, and abundance answers. Even challenges hold hidden blessings, and gratitude reveals them. The one who gives thanks for a difficulty says, "This too is for my good, this too shall prosper me." Such an attitude dissolves resistance and allows solutions to appear. A man once lost his position, and while others pitied him, he gave thanks, saying, "I know this is the clearing away of the old for something greater." In a short time, he found work that paid double and brought far greater joy. His gratitude turned loss into gain. Gratitude is magnetic. It draws to you people who want to bless you, opportunities that want to find you, money that wants to flow to you. The grateful soul walks in an atmosphere of light that others are drawn to. Even those who would overlook you suddenly notice, for gratitude shines through every word, every gesture, every action. It is impossible to hold a grateful heart and remain in poverty, for gratitude raises the vibration of the soul until it matches the vibration of abundance. Every day is an opportunity to practice gratitude, to wake with the words, "Thank you for life, thank you for this day, thank you for supply that is always flowing," sets the tone for the hours to come. To bless every bill that arrives, saying, "I give thanks that I am trusted with this responsibility, and I bless the money already on its way to cover it," turns what others fear into a testimony of abundance. To bless the money you spend, saying, "I give thanks that I can circulate this freely, knowing more returns multiplied," ensures that every transaction is a seed for greater prosperity. The scriptures declare, "In everything give thanks." Not in some things, not only in times of plenty, but in everything. For gratitude is not dependent on circumstances. It is the creator of circumstances. The one who gives thanks in lack, as though already in abundance, shifts his world. The one who blesses what little he has cannot remain without much. Gratitude is the law of increase, and those who live by it dwell continually in the flow of wealth. Generosity is the law of circulation in action. Money, like water, must flow. When you give freely, you prove your faith in the endless supply of the universe. Holding too tightly to what you have is like damming a river. The flow ceases, and stagnation sets in. But when you open your hand to give, you open the channel for more to return, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Generosity is not measured by the size of the gift, but by the spirit in which it is given. Even the smallest act of kindness, offered with love and faith, multiplies itself in ways unseen. There are those who say, "When I have more, then I will give." But this is the voice of lack, for the giving precedes the receiving. The farmer does not say, "I will plant seed when the harvest comes." He plants first, knowing the law will return the increase. So it is with prosperity. When you give, you plant the seed of abundance. When you withhold, you plant the seed of lack. The generous heart lives in continual harvest, for their giving never ceases, and so their receiving never fails. One woman learned the power of generosity when she chose to give a small portion of her income to bless another, though she herself seemed in need. She gave in faith, declaring, "I know that God is my unfailing supply. As I give, so it returns multiplied." Soon after, unexpected opportunities opened before her, and her income increased beyond anything she had known. She proved the law of to withhold is to lose, but to give is to gain. Generosity is not only the giving of money but of time, encouragement, and kindness. A smile given freely, a word of faith spoken, a hand extended to lift another. These are seeds that grow into prosperity in many forms. The generous soul lives in the awareness that there is always enough, and because they live in that awareness, enough always finds them. To give from fear is to drain oneself, but to give from love is to draw more love, more joy, more wealth into one's experience. There is no poverty for the generous, for their giving continually opens the flow of supply. The miser may hoard gold, yet live in fear, watching it diminish. The generous may give their last coin and find 10 more flowing to them, for life cannot withhold from the one who mirrors its own nature, and life itself is ever giving. The sun does not withhold its rays, nor the earth its harvest, nor the sea its waves. Generosity is the law of life, and to practice it is to harmonize with the rhythm of the universe. Generosity also breaks the chains of fear. Fear says, "Hold on, for there may not be enough." Faith says, "Give freely, for God is my source, and there is always more." Each time you give in faith, fear loses its hold. Each time you bless another, you declare, "I live in an infinite universe where there is no lack." That declaration draws prosperity to you, for the universe responds to the consciousness of abundance. Generosity is not loss but investment. Every gift given in love is a seed planted in the soil of spirit, and the harvest is always greater than the seed. The scriptures remind us, "He that sows sparingly shall reap sparingly, and he that sows bountifully shall reap also bountifully." Give cheerfully, and you will receive joyfully. Bless as you give, and blessings will return to you multiplied. Generosity keeps the channel clear, ensuring that wealth flows to you and through you without obstruction. And so, when you give to bless another, you bless yourself. When you open your hand, heaven opens its storehouse. When you release with love, life releases to you with abundance. To live generously is to live prosperously, for you cannot outgive God, and every seed of generosity you sow comes back to you as an overflowing harvest. Now let us close this prayer of prosperity and financial blessing. Divine Spirit, I give thanks for the abundance that already surrounds me. I give thanks for the wealth that flows to me from seen and unseen channels. I give thanks for the health, the opportunities, the relationships, and the supply that are mine by divine right. I bless the money I have, and I bless the money that is on its way. I live in gratitude, knowing that every need is already met. I release all fear and doubt, and I walk in faith, knowing the universe is abundant and generous. I declare that prosperity is my divine inheritance. I declare that wealth flows to me now in perfect ways. I declare that I am guided to right action, right opportunities, and right supply. I live generously, I give freely, and I receive abundantly. The river of prosperity flows through me, and it cannot be stopped. I am one with the infinite source, and therefore I am rich, blessed, and overflowing with supply. And so it is, Amen.